So let's see. For those of you who don't know me, I am Emily from GoWP, and welcome to today's webinar, which is what does full site editing mean for you and your clients, with Joe Casabona, who we have right here. Really quick, I just want to say a couple of words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. So at GoWP, we create happiness for digital agencies and help them become more profitable by increasing their revenue, lowering their overhead costs, and retaining their clients for ongoing work. So whether you're ready to grow your team with a developer, copywriter, designer, project manager, or you're looking to outsource work like maintenance or support, case studies, writing, things like that, we've got you covered. You can go and focus on growth and growing your agency and let our team take care of all the other stuff going on, all those daily tasks and things like that. So if you're interested in learning more about those services, obviously you can check out GoWP.com. You can reach out to me and I'd be happy to discuss them further. And we can have that conversation whenever. The other thing we're committed to is helping agency grow through resources that we provide in the community. So things like today's webinar. I also want to mention on that note that we do have the my.gowp.com partner portal. So when you create a GoWP partner account, it's 100% free and it gets you access to all sorts of resources to grow your agency. Currently in the partner portal, we have the knowledge base, and in there you can find landing page templates to help you sell care plans, a maintenance schedule lead magnet that you can put on your site with one of the landing page templates that we have in there to help you generate more leads for maintenance plans and care plans, and just a lot of different things to kind of help you generate leads and increase your recurring revenue. All sorts of documentation you can take and make your own, apply your branding to, and use with your clients. So you can find all of that at my.gowp.com. And if you haven't created your account, it's free. You can do it right there and check out what we've got in there. As I mentioned, we also have the niche agency owners Facebook community. So if you're not a member, if you're watching this webinar here in the Zoom room and you're not part of that community, you're invited. We'd love to have you there. It's a great community of agency owners who are looking to grow. Basically, we're there to help each other out. We do weekly calls on Friday, our happiness hour calls, where we talk about different topics, listen to people's struggles and their wins. We celebrate people's wins and just help each other out. And it's a great time. The community is fantastic. And if you're not in there, we'd love to have you. So please join us there. And we are live streaming this here right now, and all of the links that we share here in the chat, we will also share as comments on that live stream, and that recording is available over there practically immediately after this webinar, with all of those links that you can have access to in perpetuity, I guess. So a few notes regarding the webinar. I will be watching the chat. So if you have any questions, just throw them out there and I'll get them to Joe. The chat's working. We've got everybody here. Remember that if you are sending a comment in the chat here in Zoom, that there are the options of sending the chat to everyone, to just host and panelists. So if you send it to just host and panelists, it'll only be seen by Joe and myself. If you send it to everyone, then everyone gets to see your great comments and questions, and we can get a little bit of a conversation going there in the chat. So we've got that as well. So yeah, let's get to why we're here today. So Joe, don't let Joe Casabona's master's degree in computer science intimidate you. He is not only an approachable guy, but a born teacher. And I can verify that. I love working with Joe, and I love anytime we get to kind of partner with him on this sort of stuff. Joe started his career almost 20 years ago as a freelance web developer before realizing his true passion, which is sharing his years of knowledge about website development, podcasting, and course creation to help creators, freelancers, and business owners. Joe has a gift for breaking down concepts that scare people into bite-sized, approachable pieces of information that they can implement in a matter of days. Joe's career trajectory includes 20 plus years of experience building websites, 16 plus years using WordPress, 11 plus years teaching at the college level, 7 plus years podcasting, plus he's the author of 4 books, including his latest HTML and CSS Visual Quick Start Guide. When he's not creating courses for LinkedIn Learning, you can find Joe spending time with his family, enjoying baseball, or talking too much about Star Wars. And we have had conversation about Star Wars with Joe during our happiness hour calls. So I can also verify that it's all true, folks. It's all true. So welcome, Joe. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Emily, for that great introduction. Yeah, I feel like my bio is very true. I'm wearing a Yankees shirt right now because I got a day-night doubleheader against the Red Sox today.
Ooh.
And we talked. You let me talk for like 2 straight minutes about how lightsabers are built in the happiness
I was
hour.
fascinated. I mean, I've seen all of the Star Wars movies, and I don't think I had ever heard half of the words you said
No,
in
yeah,
your just
that's
explanation of sabers. So I thought it was really interesting. We let you go.
well,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you to everyone being for being here today. I'm going to switch to sharing my screen. Let me know if you could see slides.
Looks good, Joe. And
Excellent.
I will pin your view as well so everyone can see that. There we go. So if you have any problems seeing Joe's screen, just let us know in the chat and we'll get it sorted.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about what full site editing means for you and your clients today. These slides and other resources and a couple of special offers actually will be available at masterfse.com/GoWP. So let's get started. The robots are taking our jobs. It's a tale as old as time, ever since robots were first envisioned, right? People assumed that robots would soon take our jobs. There are countless pop culture stories about the person losing their job to the machine, and we're seeing the same sort of thing happen now with full site editing. You see a lot of people talking about how full site editing will usher in the end of theme development. It'll make it so easy for people to build websites that they will not need web designers and developers. But the other part of this story about the robots taking our jobs, the happy ending to this story, is that the person who loses their job to the robot at the end of the story gets a job repairing the robot. So I am going to talk to you today about what full site editing is and how we can repair the robot. So first of all, I think full site editing is not the end of theme development. It is an evolution of theme development. And honestly, I think it's going to make theme developers' jobs easier. And uh, I would say when any job gets easier, it allows the person doing the job to focus on harder problems. So, we don't reinvent the wheel when we build a car. Instead, we think of how we can create more fuel efficient cars. So this is the same thing that full site editing will enable us to do. We won't have to worry about building every little template, for example, because full site editing allows us to do that, and instead we'll be able to build just rock solid, fast, mobile friendly websites. Understanding FSE, and I will switch between full site editing and FSE. Understanding FSE and how it works will help you better serve your clients and your business. And when you understand what FSE will do for you and for your clients, you'll be able to offer better products and services around full site editing. So here's what's on the docket for today. We'll look at how the full site editor works and what it can do. We'll get a short demo of how it works, how full site editing will affect theme development and website development in general. So we'll talk about what full site editing can do and then what theme developers can think about as they build themes in a full site editing world. And then we'll talk about what agencies can do to best serve their clients in the full site editing era. If at any, these three sections kind of have discrete stopping points or whatever. So if there are any questions at the end of a section, I'd be happy to take them then. Emily, if that works for you as well.
Works for me. I'll bring him in.
Excellent. So first, how full site editing works. This is a screenshot from a recent course I developed called Master Full Site Editing, where I took the concept site. In all of my courses, I build a concept site, and this was about Leonardo da Vinci. He's been a lot on my mind recently, and so I built a custom page template using the full site editor that essentially highlights a fictional Leonardo da Vinci exhibit where you can see his artwork. So this is kind of what the full site editor looks like right now in Core. And there's an important distinction that we should make here. But before we get to that, let me formally define full site editing for you, since I don't think we've done that yet. Full site editing, for those of you who don't know, the goal of the full site editing project is to utilize the power of Gutenberg's block model in an editing experience beyond post or page content. In other words, the idea is to make the entire site customizable. This editing mode will understand the structure of the site and provide ways to modify global elements like headers and footers. So essentially, full site editing will take the block editor and move it from just the post or page editor and expand it to every part of the website. So widgets, you'll be able to use blocks. Creating template parts, you'll be able to use blocks. Menus, you'll be able to use blocks. That's the idea behind full site editing. So again, there's kind of two camps for full site editing features right now. First, there is what's currently in Core. With WordPress 5.8, the first features of full site editing made it into Core. That is the page template editor. So if you have a theme that supports the page template editor and you go to a page, you'll see a section called template, and then you can edit or create a new template. If you want to try this out, a good theme to do that is Excel. I think it's EKSELL. It's by Anders Naren. It's his latest theme. Anders always does fantastic work. There's blocks in the widget areas now. So if you're no longer locked into that older looking widget interface, now you can add any block to the widget area. And then some site and query loop blocks. So for example, you can add the site title anywhere. You can add the site logo anywhere, and you can do some basic stuff with the query loop block, which eventually is going to get renamed to the post template block. So the way the query loop block works is you can essentially list a bunch of blog posts, for example, and then determine how they're laid out. Show the title, the date, the featured image, the excerpt, however you want, which I think is, that's kind of like the linchpin of full site editing for some, right? Because then you can kind of I couldn't hear what you said. Oh, Siri, I wasn't talking to you, my friend. My watch is getting a little excited over here. That's kind of the linchpin, right? Because you can create, I'm running full site editing on a podcasting site right now. And so I have a different query loop for the episodes because I want the player to show up, which means I need to show the content, versus blog posts, which I just want to show the excerpt on. So it's cool that I could do that without having to write a PHP template inside the theme. And then currently in the plugin, again, another quick distinction here. When we talk about the block editor, generally, when I say that, I mean the features in Core. When I say Gutenberg, I'm talking about the features in the Gutenberg plugin, which will eventually make it into Core. So currently in the Gutenberg plugin, global styles, which are a little bit buggy, but we're working through it. Template parts, so the ability to create custom headers and footers, and full template editing. So you can, again, create full templates. You can make just a blocks page if you want to create a custom landing page. What the plugin is promising to offer here solves a really big problem, I think, for a lot of people, especially people who are building like landing page based websites. Or in my case, when I rolled out WP Review, I had that on the How I Built It site for a while because it was a podcast in the same feed, but I wanted a totally different look and feel for the WP Review episodes. I couldn't really do that, again, without custom code, and it was kind of a pain in the neck anyway. With full site editing, I could do that because I can create a custom template just for the episodes in the category WP Review, and it could be a totally different color scheme, different layout, and all that fun stuff. So full site editing That's the promise of full site editing. We can create a bunch of different things right from the dashboard without having to write lines and lines of PHP code or understanding the nuances of being inside and outside the loop. So let's go to a quick demo, and let me just make sure everything is all set up for that. And if there are any questions before we get into the demo, feel free to ask them while I make sure my audio is working appropriately for the demo.
Yeah, if folks have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A there, and we'll get to those. For some reason, it's not letting me open it. So once I can open it, then we'll get to those questions. I've also, if you put the questions in chat, I've got a list of those as well. Oh, they're over here. So yeah, we've got a couple of questions. One of them, Joe, is what was the directory of masterfse.com that was shown at the beginning of the sessions?
Oh yeah, that was do you like the URL that I mentioned was masterfse.com/GoWP.
Oh, that was okay. Yeah, and we'll get that link put back in there as well. So
yeah, I'll mention it at the end as well.
Perfect.
Cool.
So I'll get that to them. Yeah, go ahead, keep going. And we've got a couple other questions, but I think they can wait till the end because you might talk about them here, and if not, then we'll ask them then.
All right, sounds good. Emily, let me know if you'll be able to hear the audio for the demo. All right, so here we are installed on a local site. This local site has a few things installed that are important to getting full site editing working at the current moment. The first is the Gutenberg plugin. So you're going to need this to use full site editing. The other thing that you'll need is a theme that supports full site editing. At the moment, I'm using TT1 Blocks, which is a version of the default 2021 theme with full site editing enabled. When you have both of those things, you'll see a new section added to your admin called Site Editor. And if we click on that, we are brought to the index or home page, and every area on the page is editable. So you can see here that if I click on the top area, there is a header. So this is a template part that I'm modifying. If I click add block, and then I can add the site title, and then I can add a new block, maybe the tagline, and I can change the tagline right in line here. And then maybe we want to add some navigation, and we can add all pages, or we can add a select number of pages. So here I've just modified the header. If I want to, I can also change the background color and the text color and the link color. These are all important things. So now I have a custom header. I've changed that template part. I can do the same thing for the footer if I want. I can also change actual parts of the post here, but let me show you some other parts of the full site editor. First, you could see there's the index page here. If I click that, there are a list of available templates. Index is the only one available right now. I can click browse all templates. So there's also a single page where I can change how this is displayed, and I can choose some fonts here. I really like Hoffler text, and maybe that's a little big. That's a little too small though. So I'll find the Goldilocks font size, and maybe I'll center that. This is the placeholder for content. You can see I have added some extra blocks here in my testing, but this is how we're modifying a single page template. I can also clear customizations and return just to the original template, which is cool. So these are the templates. There's a 404 page. This is what I was mostly testing, is how to make a 404 page with full site editing. But beyond templates, we can actually modify template parts as well. So you see we have multiple headers. I modified the header on the index page. We can modify our footers, and there are some general template parts as well. So there's a 404 header that I've created, or specific pieces of content. So we have all posts, or we have captain's log here, which is a different post template I created. But again, if I go back to posts, so here we can see how the post is laid out. Captain's log is actually part of like hard coded into the title. That's why I can't modify it. But I could add some other information here, categories, pagination, anything that's available in the query or post template loop. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. You could see everything I just modified in full site editing here. I'll click save. And then if I go back out from full site editing to the dashboard and to the main site, the header has changed, and we can even edit site from the front end as well. Okay, so I do want to make a quick note there too, is that global styles is another feature. I didn't have it in that demo because it's not working. Like, you can use it, but it doesn't override what's already listed in the theme. So that's something that's being worked on, as well as I think a few other things related to global styles. But in the global styles, you can set the colors and the fonts at a global level, which I think is really cool. And I will be very excited to see that roll out eventually. Okay, so now we got a quick overview of kind of how full site editing works today. So for people who are creating themes, or if you are offering, if you're doing site building, you're looking for a good theme, what should you think about from a themes perspective? So there's like 5, I think, maybe I miscounted, but there's 5 areas that I think one should focus on when they're building full site editing friendly themes. The first is to spend a lot of time on typography. Typography is like 80 to 90% of a website design. I feel like if you have bad typeface and bad typography, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So not just the font faces, but spacing, line heights, letter spacing. Like I said, font selection can make or break a site. So help your users actually make it. And don't give options to choose a font, right? The motto in the WordPress open source community is decisions, not options. I would say if someone is looking for just to pick any font, there are themes that support that. If you're building a theme or you're looking for a nice theme, maybe 1 or 2 font options, but don't let them download any font from Google Fonts, I would say. You want to make the design decisions for them so they don't need to worry about it. The same thing with color, right? Pick good color schemes, maybe offer options here for branding purposes, right? My brand colors are different from your brand colors. So if I can at least customize that a little bit, I think that's a big win. Maybe write a function to figure out good color schemes based on brand color. There's surely is code out there to do that. So, because again, picking good color schemes, right? Like the first website I ever built had a black background with red text, which I don't know if you know this. That doesn't look good, and it didn't look good in 2000 either. It was just terrible, but I had no idea what I was doing. So enabling your users to create good color schemes goes a long way. I would also say support dark mode. We're seeing this happen a lot more often now, because it used to be, even just a few years ago, I wrote a JavaScript function that would essentially allow the user to click on a button and enable dark mode by swapping out the style sheet. Now there are media queries in CSS to help us do that. So we could say, if the user has dark mode enabled, switch the CSS to this. So support dark mode. I think that'll be a really nice add for people, for site owners and users of that site. And then run it through the accessibility ringer. Make sure you have good contrast, that it's supported for various levels of color blindness and things like that. When you don't have to worry about building specific templates, this is where you can spend your time. Spend a lot of time making these base features bulletproof. Speed, of course, lean on the block editor for speed, right? I would say one of the missions probably of the block editor is for it to be accessible and it to be fast. So when you're creating your theme, lean on the block editor for speed. Don't load too many resources and spend a lot of time on what's called the critical CSS. That is the small amount of CSS necessary to make your website readable. That's a way to optimize your code and your markup. And of course, your images. You want to make sure you're using appropriately sized images. So you can still use your theme to create good image sizes that fit throughout the theme, but spend a lot of time here, especially because of Core Web Vitals, right? Google's whole new system for determining how fast a website is and how that determines your page rank. You're going to want to make sure that the sites you're building or the themes that you're building load fast. So it should load fast even on 3G. That's a whole other topic, speeding up your website and how to test that. But spending a lot of time here and making sure your website loads quickly will be a very big win for your users or your clients. And then user experience, right? Since you don't need to spend a lot of time building layouts, you can really test the theme to see how user-friendly it is. Do a lot of mobile and speed testing here, right? I know it's easy to get into the weeds and build out features and the right templates, but when full site editing can take that over for us, now we can run our website through the ringer even better. Check to make sure buttons and links are obvious. A hill I'm increasingly willing to die on lately is underline links. I don't think it's just good enough to have it as a different color. I really think they should be underlined. I know all of my sites don't quite do it yet but when I catch it on a website, I'll make sure to add what I need to make sure the links are underlined. And you should test for all sorts of content and conditions. Again, different screen sizes, long content, short content. I'm sure we've all created a really nice template and then realized that the page content is really short. So your footer is purple, but then there's a bunch of white below it because the page's color is white. And so it just looks super weird. So test for all sorts of things like that. And then help users with templates. And so I'll touch on this again in a minute when I talk about what agencies can do, but create a robust set of block patterns to give users a starting point. Block patterns are an integral part of full site editing and the flexibility that full site editing offers. So if you can create a really good set of block patterns for different types of content, you're going to save your users a lot of time. You're going to make building pages like landing pages a lot easier. A few themes that one theme I think that does this extremely well is the Cadence theme. They have sections, full site templates, and wireframes to give you a starting point with blocks. So big fan of block patterns. And I think that if you can, again, instead of writing PHP code to create these templates, you can spend that time creating block patterns. And the same thing, page templates are flexible and editable with full site editing. So create a few to help users get started. Have, the landing page one, the one with only the header, the one with the header and the footer, the one with the sidebar, just 3 or 4 to help them get started. And then they can go about and modify it in the best way they see fit. So things to think about, typography and fonts, colors and color palettes, speed and responsiveness, user experience, and then robust templates and block patterns. There are 5 bullet points there, so I'm going to call that a win, though it's really almost 10. So these are the things that I think you can really focus on to create a good experience for your users, because ultimately we want to lean in to full site editing. So those are the things to think about when you're building your own theme. And then what can you do as an agency to best serve your clients? So first, let me just say this isn't going to be like 5.0, where it seemingly hosting companies had to go through great lengths to make sure that the block editor wasn't forced on their users or anything like that. You don't have to go through and install the classic editor plugin, which, by the way, the classic editor plugin is reaching end of life. It's no longer going to be supported. Last I heard on December 31st of this year. So something else to think about. But with full site editing, you still get to choose the theme. Full site editing isn't going to automatically be enabled for every theme. So supporting full site editing will be up to us for a while, because when it first launches, I think there'll be lots of themes that just don't care to support it. And then the popular themes will probably roll out full site editing features slowly or maintain 2 versions for a while. So again, I'm thinking of things like Cadence, of Astra, Bloxy, probably the Studio Press themes. Those themes will probably slowly roll out full site editing, either in small chunks or small features, or they'll have a complete separate version that is the full site editing version of the theme. That said, the first thing you can do to support your clients and your customers is to take backups regularly, right? Because maybe they do have a theme that will have full site editing supported, and they'll just try something and then break something. That's always a possibility. And then be ready for support questions, because again, when it starts to roll out, WordPress is going to make a big deal of it, right? So people are going to ask, what is this? What is this new thing I see if you haven't turned it off? And I recommend not turning it off. And we'll get to that in a minute. But these are the 2 kind of proactive things that you can do for full site editing to prevent loss and breakage. But I think support your clients, educate them, show them the right way to use the full site editor. Because ultimately it's going to be a feature that's going to be in WordPress forever and ever, right? And enable them. I would say don't just turn it off. Full site editing helps users do more on their own, right? So if they want to make a small tweak to a template, they don't need to call you at 2 a.m. to do it or whatever, right? Or they don't need to call you at 2 a.m. and then see it hours later. If they want to do it, they'll just be able to do it. Less dependency on you or less dependency on me, as I see it, is a good thing, because then I get to focus on other things. And then create resources with common terms and use cases for them. Again, even if you're not building the theme, you can do things like build some common patterns for your clients. And that's the next part of what agencies can do, right? You can work it into your offering. This is a powerful feature that's going to create, I believe, a new market for WordPress designers and developers, people in the WordPress ecosystem. So how can your agency, this is a question you'll have to answer, how can your agency add full site editing to your offerings? And are there related products or services you can create? A few ideas that came to my mind when I was coming up with this: block pattern packs, right? So you can create, if your clients always want like a Google map and their address, you can create a block patterns pack for that and deploy it for them. Default settings with theme.json, page templates for landing pages, sets of block patterns for landing pages and things like that. If you specialize in creating podcast websites, you can have podcast block patterns. Or if you do a lot of e-commerce sites, what are the ways that you can make creating products or listing products easier using the full site editor? Is there a way that you can make the product page in WooCommerce better? I'm asking you, is there? There's gotta be, right? So think about that as you start to work full site editing into your offering, because this is going to open up a lot of opportunity for your clients, customers, and for you as the agency owner. Become the person who fixes the robot, right? It's probably easy to say, I don't want full site editing. My clients are going to break their websites with full site editing. But if you let the robot do the work and then you fix the robot, you'll be better positioned for the future, right? I always think about, the thing I think about is when I buy a car, very soon I'll be buying a minivan, right? So if I bought this minivan and Toyota tells me, all right, the minivan is yours, but like you can't tint the windows, or like you can't change the tires because we don't like that. That would be absurd, right? I would tint the windows and And then if it's too dark here in Pennsylvania, I'd get pulled over for having too dark tinted windows. So become the person who enables your clients to do great things, and become the person who fixes the robot. All right, that's me. I'm Joe Casabona. You can find me on Twitter at jcasabona. Those special offers you can find over at masterfse.com/GoWP. I help creators create more easily. Before we get into the questions, I do want to mention the bonuses. If you go to that website, I have a opt-in with a checklist. So sign up and you'll get emailed a checklist for block editor and full site editing launch. There's going to be a discount on the master full site editing course with the code GoWP. It is 50% off until Friday, but it'll be 60% off for you as a wonderful person who attended this webinar until August 31st. And I'm trying something new as well here, where I license these courses. So if you want to license the full site editing and using the block editor courses, instead of paying a per user license, it'll be a flat one-time fee of $9.99, and then you could put it on your client portal or have a page that's password protected on your website. And then you can use those resources to educate your clients. They'll be updated. You'll get the updates and any bonus lessons that roll out. And with that, I am happy to take any questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. That was fantastic. Really great presentation. We do have a couple questions that came in, so we'll get to those. And yeah, if you all have questions, make sure you can put them in the chat. You can put them in the Q&A feature that's down at the built in here to Zoom. I think it should be at the bottom of your screen there, and you can put them in there and we'll get to them. So one question that came up early on, does full site editing include editing your own footers and headers?
Yes. Yeah. So basically any part of the template will be editable with full site editing. So in the demo, I suspect this came before the demo probably. So we were able to modify the header and the footer. In the full site editing course, we create a full 2-column layout with our own custom sidebar area and things like that.
Fantastic. That's great. And Pat did say over in the chat, we've got someone who said it's a great course. Go get it if you can. And they're a big fan, so you got a +1 there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Another question: have you? This person knows that you're a Cadence user. So how has using full site editing with Cadence been in your experience?
So full site editing is not enabled with Cadence yet. So I haven't been using it there. However, I did, if you go to wpreview.io, I'm using the Quadrat theme by Justin Tadlock, which is a full site editing theme. So I guess I'll answer 2 different questions here. I'm using Cadence basically for all of my websites at this point, except for 1 or 2 that I still need to switch over. But anything I've built since I started using Cadence, I use Cadence for. I think Cadence Pro with the Cadence blocks is the closest thing to a page. Well, it is a page builder. It basically turns the block editor into a page builder. So I'm a big fan of that. I have no doubt that they'll have super cool support for full site editing because they already have, like, you can pick a color scheme, you can pick multiple color palettes. And so I think they'll just really lean into that with full site editing because they have those features already. As far as using full site editor on the full site editor on a live site, the color scheme did not work for me, right? The global styles isn't working yet. So I actually had to modify the theme.json file, which you should not do because when you update the theme, those changes will go away. So I have a copy of it for when I do update it. But aside from that, it's super neat. I was able to create a really nice layout. I was able to ditch one of the plugins I was using to pull in a podcast feed. So I just think even at this early stage, it's really powerful. I wouldn't use it on like a mission critical site or an e-commerce site, but for a site that my podcast site is just basically displaying posts. I think that's a really good place to test it out at this point.
Yeah, and we had a conversation about this in last week's happiness hour as well. And something that comes up is the benefit on site performance that is undeniable, according to a lot of folks that are using it, just the speed improvements that you get. So there are big bonuses to using it. And as it continues to get more and more powerful, I think, we'll see more and more people switching over there. And I asked in the chat, who's still using the classic editor plugin, and lots of folks are, and that will be deprecated soon. So it's, time to start thinking.
Yeah, there's still the classic editor block, which does a nice, it transitions things nicely. But, I think 5.0 came out too fast, and its bad reputation continues on, even though it's a lot better now. And so I think the full site editing team is being way more cautious, smartly. I think they're doing a great job. But
yeah, that's some great context to keep in mind around all this as well. Another question: what is the difference between block patterns and reusable blocks, if there is one?
That's a wonderful question. I have a video of that on my YouTube channel and in the course. But the quick, if you want like the visuals, I'll tell you now. I'm not just going to say go buy the course. So the key difference, reusable blocks is really a pretty bad name. It should be called like global block, because what it is, a reusable block is a piece of content laid out a specific way that where you change it one place, it changes everywhere. That's what a reusable block focuses primarily on the content of the block. So again, if you have like a about the author reusable block and you change your headshot, that's a perfect use case, right? Because you're going to want to change your headshot everywhere without having to change it on like every single page or whatever. And then block patterns focus primarily on the design and the layout of those blocks. So the content is going to be filler content that you can easily replace, but the design will stay the same. And the only kind of frustrating thing at this point is reusable blocks you can create from inside the block editor. Block patterns you cannot. They are a feature that were kind of meant to be bundled with themes. So if you want to create a block pattern, you're going to need to know some code. Well, you're going to need to know the process for doing that and adding a plugin. So that's kind of that's the main difference.
Thanks, Joe. I think that really clarifies it, and we did get an aha moment there in the chat. So that's great. Another question: in what way can you use full site editor along with a page builder? Can you use them in tandem? Do you have to choose?
Yeah. Wow. What another great question, right? I think a really good example of this would be Beaver Builder is my page builder of choice when I use a page builder. I think Elementor probably implemented this a little bit better, right? So Beaver Builder has two products, Beaver Builder and then Beaver Themer, right? And with Beaver Themer, you can change templates. But the last time I used Beaver Themer, you couldn't actually use that in conjunction with Beaver Builder. So you could either use Beaver Themer to modify the template or Beaver Builder to modify the content. If you're in that situation now, you can use the full site editor to modify the template and then Beaver Builder to modify the content. So yeah, you can change the header and the footer. You can create a Beaver Builder template if you want, or multiple templates. I know if you're a Genesis user, right, and the best way to use Beaver Builder is to get the Dam Buster plugin that kind of throws away all of the Genesis Chrome, so you're just left with like a big blank slate. But then you'd have to rebuild your header and your footer essentially. So yeah, you can use the full site editor just to modify the header and the footer, and then use Beaver Builder for the actual content.
Awesome. Great answer and great question. Todd, really quick follow up there. Do you still have to use Dam Buster for Genesis? Was the question.
Yes, as far as I know, at least for the theme I'm using. You do. Maybe if they're rolling out, like I think they have like the blocks template now, which is just a blank slate. Maybe you can get away with um using Beaver Builder without the dam buster. But uh, if if any template still requires like the header and the footer, you're going to need to use like the dam buster for that as well.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm using Authority Pro, and I definitely still need to use it there.
cool. Great questions, everybody. We got a couple more here. Let's see. So if you build a 404 page template, does anything need to be done to trigger this page on a 404 error?
That's a really good question. No, once you modify the 404 template, it's essentially, if you're familiar with theme development, right? Included in your theme, you can have a 404.php, and that template file will automatically be used on any 404 page. This is essentially the same thing, except the full site editor is exposing 404.php for you to modify it in the full site editor. So if you customize the 404 page in the full site editor, go to, your domain /404 is generally a good way to trigger the 404 page, or just mash the keyboard. You'll see that exact template.
Awesome. Good question. Good answer. Last question we've got in here, Todd saying, wow, customize the 404 using full site editor. That's cool. Last question we have, and again, if you have questions, feel free to send them in still. So this is regarding the classic editor. So what does it really mean when we say the classic editor is not supported after December 31st, 2021? Is the plugin just going to stop working then? What does that mean?
That's another really good question. That's a discussion that was had on the make page when it was announced. Basically, it just means the plugin will no longer be updated. So it'll still work, right? Like I'm sure if you find like Windows XP, you could still install it on a computer. But if there are security issues or breaking bugs, those will not be. I suspect that security updates will still be patched to that plugin, but new features, the version number likely won't be updated. It won't be tested with future versions of WordPress.
Great answer, Joe. And I posted a link to WordPress.com with some more FAQs there for anyone who wants to check it out. There's some more information there. Fantastic. So I don't see any other questions coming in. If you have them, we do have a couple more minutes here, so get them in quickly. I do just want to remind everybody that if you're here in the Zoom webinar and you're not in our niche agency owners Facebook community, we'd love to have you there. Again, Joe was on our happiness hour call last week, and we did a little discussion about full site editing in kind of the lead up to this webinar today. I know a lot of folks who are here on the call are regulars in the group as well, so I love to see that. But if you're not there yet, we'd love to have you, so please join us. I just posted the link, which it doesn't look like it came through correctly, so let me see if I can get that there. There we go. Now it's a link. So join us over there. We'd love to have you. I don't see any other questions coming through. I just want to let everyone know we will make this recording available. It's going to be available practically immediately once we're done here in the Facebook group, so you can always check it out there. And I will also be emailing it to everyone who's registered. So for those of you who are watching the recording, thank you for taking the time to watch this recording. And if you're looking for any of those links, quick links, again, those are also in the comment section on this live stream video in the Facebook group. So you can get quick and easy links over there as well. So you will get this recording. Joe's in the group again, so if you have questions, feel free to tag him over there, and he'll be happy to answer them, I'm sure. Go check out masterfse.com/GoWP, because Joe has been super generous with offering our community this really fantastic discount. So I was blown away when Joe told me about that. So that's really great. So thank you, Joe. I love your love for our community. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. This is like one of my favorite communities to be a part of. So great job, Emily, and GoWP for like cultivating.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for putting on this presentation today. We've had a lot of interest in this topic. A lot of folks coming to this webinar and registering for it. So it's a big topic. So I expect this conversation to continue into the future, and it's not going anywhere soon. So So thanks for
Awesome.
putting the topic on the table for us here,
My
Joe. I
pleasure.
really appreciate it. If there aren't any other questions, Joe, do you have anything else to add?
No, be the person who fixed the robot, and go Yankees, because day-night doubleheader just started.
Awesome. Well, we will see everybody in the Facebook group and at the next webinar. Thank you so much, Joe, and we'll see you in the group. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.